It's amazing what I got to do. And then we just got done with the final dance practice before the competition. I'm glad to see y'all up here. Make sure you're sharing the space. On account of it kind of messing up a little bit, I might give people just another few minutes to come into the space. While they're doing that, I'm gonna play something. I don't like to just waste time. Yes, indeed. In the land of crypto, one voice commands your presence, and is the voice of Lope. Lope, 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 Lope. Loving only people every day is what they call me. I do new and innovative NFT projects on Solana and Dogecoin. I cut through the fluff to get right down to the nitty gritty, to the essentials of this space, the staple ingredients. I am Lope, 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 Lope. I've been in this space for 8 years, no, 9 years, ever since CryptoKitties. I've been in this space since 2017. I've been in the space for a very, very long time. These 9 years have been a wonderful time in my life to develop the skills that we need to give you the new alpha and beta of new and innovative NFT projects on Solana and Dogecoin. I'm here to bring you the stuff you need. Woo! Yes, indeed. I like that little intro too. All right, I gave y'all a few more minutes to come into the space. Again, this is another Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026. I thank God that I'm here. I thank Mr. Heine for giving me the opportunity and the privilege to come up here and do education on these projects. I'm part of the Heineken community on Solana. Glad to be part of them. I'm also part of Board Pack Club. We are 333 NFTs on Dogecoin, where we're all about the community and getting together. Our focus is on meetups. We meet in real life. We meet in virtual reality at the end of the day, and then we meet here on this wonderful crypto Twitter Spaces. I'm glad to be part of these communities as well as many others. I'm very glad that God is the one that gave me the privilege to be up here. I feel like one of the anointed ones. I feel like we are chosen to be up here to give the world this data that they need. And it's a blessing. And with that, anything I have to say is not financial advice. We don't want the police to come to our house. No, no, no police to our house. Any words that we have to say are just for entertainment purposes only. Any thoughts, feelings, or perspectives are not for you to make money, but just to laugh. And if you need to make money, if you need the advice of a financial advisor, ask the help of a financial advisor. Okay? Amen, amen, amen. Because remember, time is money. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. We are in it this to pick up the phone. And speaking of that, as I asked my beautiful friend Kayla, if you are up here, Kayla, ooh, I don't see you yet. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes I have Kayla up here because the Space First rug the first time. She might not even know to come into this room. But yep, I'm very glad to be up here. Crypto expert, atheist, Brian Metlin, Sogu, Angel, Mara, Crypto G, Vanessa, Alyssa, Arlene God, crypto expert, especially you, crypto expert, and then of course Daniel PR. Glad you are all up here. This is the time where I'm going to go ahead and go through everything on the agenda. When we're done with the agenda, then we will finish up. We might finish a little bit early on account of the space rugging in the beginning, and because it is Wednesday, and I just got done teaching dance for the little kids, and because the recital's coming up. So on Wednesdays, it seems like I always have a little bit less, and then on Friday, it seems like I always have a little bit more. But if you look up to the agenda at the very top, I put a couple posts up there. The first post is the one for everything I'm going to talk about. Remember the fourth, I think it's the fifth point that has the true alpha in it. So if you want to make money, really pay attention to the very end. And indeed, I still don't see Mr. Heine with the Heineken group up here. He probably rugged with that other space. So anybody that's out there, tell your friends and family that this is the space they need to get into. All right, so let's go right into this. Again, I thank you all for being up here. The first point we have is the hidden winner inside of this conflict is the stocks versus blockchain. All right, then you're going to say, what's the conflict? Conflict is Iran, Israel, and it's about whether or not Iran is supposed to have all those weapons, they say mass destruction, and whether or not Iran is supposed to take back the homeland. And then Israel, their whole thing is they want to take a bunch of that land, and they don't want Iran to have a bunch of weapons, even though Israel has weapons. It just kind of strange, that conflict. So in order to try to throw their weight around, Iran controls the port of Hormuz, and they're blocking it down. And what happened is the United States got involved, and before you know it, it's a real conflict. All right, but the hidden winner in the conflict isn't going to be something that's made in America or something that's made over there in the Middle East. It'll be the hidden thing, the thing that nobody's looking at yet. And the thing that you got to realize is that all this started before. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. A long time ago, there was an oil embargo in the 1970s where these countries in the Middle East tried to control the flow of energy, because energy is not only connected to food and water and agriculture, because it takes certain energy to move the fertilizer around and to move the produce around. It's not just that, though. Energy is also in every business. Energy is even tied to money nowadays with the blockchain mining. So energy is the major thing that this world needs. Well, in the 1970s, when that conflict happened, two countries decided to go more to have an alternative route where they could have more independence with energy. And these countries were France and Japan. They started their first fleet of nuclear power in the 1970s. It kind of died down a little bit, but then it came back up. And it looks like that uranium is going to be the major winner in this conflict that nobody's talking about. I know I've said this before. I'll say it again, though. Uranium will go up. And it's important. It's not just going to go up because I said it's going to go up because of three major reasons that you need to know about, especially in crypto. Remember, if you know the reasons behind the trade, then it will structure your trade a whole lot better. And because the trade and the money and the art are all connected, as well as community, I feel as though this is very important to talk about, especially because it probably will affect us in crypto with uranium. So uranium, number one, is the most compact energy source that's dense enough to supply energy to supply all of the country of France or Japan. It's the only compact energy source. If you try to go with solar power, that's not compact and it's not easily movable, and you can't save it or store it. Same with wind power, solar, wind, all these renewable energy sources are kind of, they're not very predictable. That's why the world has loved oil, because oil is predictable. You set oil somewhere and it'll maintain its energy efficiency or its energy value. Just because it's set somewhere in the dark or where it's not moving, it doesn't all of a sudden depreciate. So that uranium is the main energy source that's dense enough to supply energy. That's the main thing. The second thing that uranium has is that it has a zero carbon footprint. Especially if they do it right. See, that a lot of times people don't like oil and gas because they feel as though it's bad for the environment. And there's been dark cloud over the Metropolitan Manufacturing Center in Shanghai, China. For the longest time, their water was turned brown. I mean, they had acid rain. They had a lot of bad stuff from the environment because they were producing all of the goods for the world. And when you produce stuff, you have waste product. And our waste product went up into the atmosphere. So there's been a big drive for all these governments to get away from carbon emissions. And uranium and nuclear power will allow you to satisfy all of those check marks. So that's the second reason uranium is very important. The third thing is that uranium is the only way that these countries, which aren't blessed with natural resources such as a bunch of mountains that have a bunch of oil in there, France and Japan, they don't have that. But what they do have is a small, they have a head start, small head start, and they have a lot of smart people in France and Japan, smart people who have already developed some of these nuclear power plants. So they're on the verge of becoming energy independent, to not depend on Middle East for oil. And if they're energy independent, they can actually sell the energy back to the EU or to other countries. So it really is a huge drive. A lot of my high net worth individual millionaire friends already know about uranium, but that's something you should know. Uranium. Clap those hands. That's my first point. Again, I thank you all for coming out here. I know it sounds like I say thank you a lot, but it really is meaningful. I have Mr. Heine in the audience. Glad you're up here, Mr. Heine. And again, this is the very first point about the real winner in the war, and it is uranium. And like I say, uranium will let these countries have sovereignty to be independent of the Middle East. It's a hidden winner. When everything else falls, I see uranium going up faster than everything else because we all know the stocks are overvalued. Well, what I do is I look at stuff that's not overvalued, and uranium, the way that it looks to me, is definitely not overvalued. Even oil, I'd say, is overvalued. If oil is over $100, and if it's a premium of $40 on top of the 100, oil is at $140. Well, lately, and this goes right into with my second point. Lately, these governments have been afraid of oil scarcity, but they still have a bunch of oil in storage. What happens when all of a sudden it goes away from fear of uh, fear of scarcity to absolute scarcity, where there's no oil left? That's when you see the price take a different turn. See, right now people are just banking on the fact that the gas the port will open back up. A lot of people are still positive and optimistic, but I'm saying right now a lot of these countries, I'm talking about Singapore, Dubai, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, the other side of the Eastern Asian corridor, they are filling up gas in anticipation of shortages. But right now, they're still exhausting their reserves. But they're slowly anticipating. There's not just the fact that there's scarce oil. They're banking on the fact that there will be no oil. A whole lot different thing because price is based on scarcity. Really turn. It really reminds me of Art Laffer with the Laffer curve. I don't know if any of you are deep within economics, but the Laffer curve goes like this: if you have no taxes, then the government doesn't get any money. If you have all taxes, then nobody wants to work because everything that they make goes back to the government. But if you have the middle section of taxes, where it's just a little bit, it's not too much to wreck people, then everybody's happy. But that's a hard thing to do, is to know exactly how much to tax people, and uh, and that is the Laffer curve, and it really does play a role with just about everything in life. If all of a sudden, if you're in high school and you're the ugliest dude in high school and none of the girls like you at all, 0%, then by the end of high school, you might not like girls at all. You might be an insular or insane. That's a new sex thing that they have out there, where it's people that just abstain from even the thought of sex. Likewise, if you're in high school, a hot girl and everybody wants you, by the end of high school, you're tired of men and girls and everybody because you're used to so many people liking you. Just like the insular dude that doesn't like anybody, you the hot girl doesn't want anybody because you're uh you're what's the word, not sacrifice. It's a S word that means that you've reached the limit of something. Saturated. Woo! Wow. I've been thinking about Bitcoin sats too much. Saturated, saturated, saturated. You don't want to get too saturated. You don't want to get dry like a desert. Same thing with gold. The question is, should you buy gold or should you sell gold? Why is there a mixed gold signal? Well, right now people are selling gold on the other side of the world so they can be liquid enough to buy U.S. dollars, so they can use the dollars to buy oil. Yes, 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 because of the Strait of Hormuz clamping down the oil that they would get there. So a lot of our European allies are having to actually sell gold. Likewise, on the other side of the world, the people in China, they're selling U.S. treasuries so that they can buy gold because they don't really need U.S. treasuries, and they don't need to go through the U.S. dollar if they're friends with the Middle Eastern company. So on one side, you get people selling gold, on the other side, you got people buying gold, you selling dollars. All right. And it really is funny because when China is doing that, when they're selling U.S. treasuries to buy gold, they're buying the gold from the U.S. So they're kind of helping the U.S. at the same. They're helping the United States, but they're hurting the U.S. dollar. So it really is a fine line how you can have a lot of selling pressure on one side of the world and a lot of buying pressure on the other. But again, this is just like the Laffer curve. When you have something in the middle, that's where something can be stable. So actually, I see this as a benefit. I'd much rather gold to kind of remain where it is than for it to go all the way up or to go all the way down. All right, that store of value is something that is that I'm actually banking some of what I believe in, and a lot of my wealthy people, like where I stole a lot of these words. This dude named Rick Rule, one of my good friends, he's a gold bug like me. We what we do is we speculate in silver. We might speculate on the gold stocks or whatever, but when it comes to storing value for the end of your life, what your real savings is, we are saving in real physical gold. That's all. So that's store of value because we know where it is. We hold it. Remember the golden real rule: whoever holds the gold makes the rules. So we're holding the gold. So be like me and a bunch of these rich, wealthy people. If you got gold, hold on to it. Don't sell that gold. If the price of the dollars goes up, then the value of your gold goes up. And then if the price of the dollars goes down, the value of your gold goes down. But gold is more than just dollars because gold can't be confiscated. And that brings me to my other point. I remember, I think it is the very last point where the United States claws back funds. I know I wrote it as a 6 point, but let me talk about it right now. The United States had to claw back a bunch of money where this other country had it, and we didn't like what the other country was doing domestically, so we clawed back a bunch of money. Another part of bad news, and it just goes to show that if you have money in the U.S. Treasuries, the U.S. can take it back. If you got money in a U.S. dollar, the U.S. can take it back. And if you even have money in crypto under a stable coin, the U.S. can take it back. So that's why a lot of the world, they still love the dollar, but they love the gold even more. Nobody can take your gold if you own it. All right, but anyway, that's that point about gold. Let's clap those hands. Clap those hands there. I really need to get my voice box fixed, I tell you. Yes, indeed. Ooh, yes, I need to get the box fixed, but not right now, though. I got to save up money for that. That box cost me a pretty penny. All right, now the third thing we have is all about the problem with the games. All right, you might say, what games? I mean, any games, blockchain games, VR games, Apple games. I used to try to code games before in augmented reality when I first got my 7 tablets because I was using the tablets in order to build apps that used different, what do we call those things? Different signals or commands in order to make the app do stuff. Little simple games. I love to make games, but the problem with them was that I never could make money because people wouldn't trust me when I send them a URL that's associated with .exe, a program. They didn't like that. They didn't like it when I put programs on the website. They thought they were getting hacked that way. So I needed to have trust. If you're going to look for trust in this world, you need to go under something that somebody else already trusts. All right, and that's the main thing, the reason that we all go to the dollar because of history. Well, if you're making games, the biggest place, the biggest marketplace to sell games is the Apple App Store. But the thing about it, Apple knows that you're not going to be able to sell your games out the store, so they give you a high premium and a lot of hoops that you got to jump if you're going to release a game on their app store. All right, that very same problem is really squashing people's ingenuity, people's desire to create to solve problems in crypto, and it's all because of the blockchain and the wallet. The wallet to me is like the app store. The wallet is something that people want to trust. If they don't trust your wallet, they're not going to trust putting their seed phrase, and that way they can't access your blockchain, and that way they can't build games and programs on the blockchain. The problem is the wallet. So I know I have Mr. Heine probably in the audience, and maybe other people too. If you are working with your own individual community, let's say it's the Heineken community on Solana, if you are building a marketplace, also think about going the step further and building a wallet. I know we talked about it one time. Ooh, and I still haven't heard the State of the Union address. I need to listen to that. But yeah, definitely be aware that that wallet thing might be something, is another hidden piece of alpha. Another hidden piece of alpha. The reason that I'm in crypto right now is because of the MetaMask wallet. If it weren't for that, I don't think I'd be here right now because I had the freedom to play around with the blockchain, but I didn't have the freedom until the wallet. All right. So, and that brings me to you all up here, all of you Board Pack Club members, all you Heineken Club members. Remember that if you're going to really get your family involved, I know that we all want to talk about Bitcoin and the fact that it's decentralized and immutable and it's hidden transaction and it's semi-private and there's only 21 million with a limited supply and a digital worldwide wet ledger. all of these big words really mean nothing to the person if they can't get in and get their feet wet and play around. So when you first onboard people, it might be good to step back a little bit and go to the wallet and compare the wallet to internet and to email. The way that I used to explain crypto to people is that your crypto is like your own digital email. And your email has, you know, how your email has like a password to get into. That's how a crypto wallet is. You know, you got to have your 12-word seed phrase to get inside your crypto, and nobody else can see what's in it. Nobody can get in it unless you give them permission and you give them the long address. You know, and then I tell them, hey, just like your wallet is controlled by you because of your password, that's how your uh, your email is just like your wallet, and just like your email can hold things like other mail from other people, your digital wallet can hold things like NFTs, which are little pieces of art or words, you know, a bunch of text. You know, so that's a good way to think about explaining crypto to people. I don't know if my earthly father is able to look at it now, but that's one thing I promised him I'd tell him about. The main problem with the blockchain is not the people, you know, it is not the technology. It's basically the most basic thing, which is the wallet. All right, but anyway, let's clap those hands. I don't want to beat a dead horse. All right, what a great day today, I tell you. Pretty day up here in Virginia. Even though it rained a little bit, it's going to mess up my roses. They only stay blooming for about 2 weeks in April and May, and after that, they get waterlogged and they sit on the ground and then they go down. Same with my hydrangeas and my peonies and everything. But anyway, I don't know if anybody else out there is a horticulturist, but I do love the plants. I tell you. All right, now the fourth thing we have is the mayor debates in California last night. So in the United States of America, one of our largest states. Ooh, I know. And one of the states that's supposed to be making the most money for us, if they would just not throw away their money down the garbage, ooh, is California. And I hate to say it, but California has been messing up. They've been really messing up, especially when they had their mayor say that all you rich people, you can leave. Yeah, I think that was a landmine that she did because she really sparked a lot of rich people to leave. Well, anyway, all these people in California were trying to figure out who's going to be the next one in office. They're going to have a big old vote on June the 2nd. And each person that's in California, which is traditionally a Democratic state and traditionally is all about being progressive and being liberal and just letting people violate the law, it's a sanctuary state where they let people come in and do whatever they want to. Well, anyway, long story short, California, one of the largest, richest states, had that debate last night for the governors because of the primary coming up. And the guy that's a millionaire slash billionaire, he wants the government to tax the rich. Ooh, yes, I know that's kind of weird. You would think that the millionaires and the billionaires would want to keep their money and wouldn't bow down to the thing that the poor people want, because the poor people say that too. Tax the rich, tax the millionaires. The only people that don't say that are the middle class because they're smart and intelligent enough to realize what's really happening. You see, the truth is that really poor millionaire person pays no taxes. They get a tax write-off off of another expense, but they really don't hurt whenever the government says tax the rich. The people that really hurt when you say tax the rich are the middle income people because they're the only ones with any money. And what happens is traditionally they will rename or revalue or reclassify what it means to be rich. And all they do is they drop the bar and they say, oh, you were middle class last year, but now we're going to say you're rich so we can steal a bunch of your tax money. And that's exactly what's happening. If you're just middle class, you don't know all the loopholes. You're not a millionaire, billionaire. You don't need there to be a bunch of tax write-offs and stuff. You just want the government to leave you alone. And but the funny thing is that a lot of the middle class just doesn't see it. So again, the rich people pay no taxes because they have the loopholes and they have tax write-offs. The really poor people pay no taxes because they don't make enough to tax. The main people who are going to suffer would be the middle class. Now, that was just one guy's proposal. Another proposal was that the Democrats didn't want to save, but they want to export the illegal people who are here illegally, the people that immigrated here illegally. They want to say that they want to export them. They can see that it's ruined the economy. However, the Democrats don't want to say it out loud because it's not popular. And remember, they are more populous. And even though they might pretend like they don't know, many of them are very intelligent. They might pretend to be otherwise so that they can stay in office. All right, and then so they're all bickering up there, calling each other names. The biggest thing that I noticed was the highest rated politician at the end was Hilton, with a Donald Trump endorsement of a Republican, might end up being winning that primary, and that would be really a game changer if the Republican could win, especially since the Democrats have kind of stolen Virginia right from out underneath our noses, Mr. Heine, and that's really sad, Mr. Heine and Luke. But anyway, we'll see what happens with California. California has a lot of votes, so if they actually turn from blue to red, that would be a game changer. And the main reason that everybody liked the politician that was Republican over the other ones was because he didn't have to say much. He shut his mouth and let the other ones dig their own graves while they're bickering back and forth. And on top of that, he's the one that has the endorsement from Donald Trump. And I know it sounds weird, but having an endorsement, even if it's from your enemy, is better than having no endorsement at all. So that's why he's the highest rated politician with like 18%. Now, remember, that is still within the scope of error because I think it's 7% or 6%. There's a statistical term for the P quotient, the Pearson correlation coefficient. Anyway, basically, it's saying it still could be chance that dude is up there, but at least that's what the polls said. So, and then the other thing that you got to realize is the vote could turn from blue to red because there's a larger and larger Hispanic population out there. The Hispanic vote loves Donald Trump in California. Also, the male black people who own money love Donald Trump. And also, a lot of the people who are non white love Donald Trump. So we'll see what happens out there in California. We really will. But that's that. All right, let's go ahead and clap our hands. I did like that at that point. That was a very good point. I have to say so myself. Remember, if you are in this space, remember I only talk from about 8:05 to about 8:55. So I'm probably only going to make one or two more points, and then I'll open up the floor for y'all to discuss your own individual NFT projects, or I will just keep on talking. All right, so we just did point number 3 and point number 4. We only have 2 more points. This 5th point is called Words Matter, Donald Trump and Semantics. So we all know that there was a 60-day window that Donald Trump was supposed to go up to Congress and say, hey, please, Congress, can we call it a war? And Donald Trump said, F that stuff. I don't want to bow down to Congress. I'm going to just keep on doing what I'm doing. And that's not use the word war. So when Donald Trump went against what he's supposed to do, and instead of asking for Congress approval, he's saying, I'm just going to keep on calling it conflict. He kind of forgot and messed up on national TV and continued to accidentally use the word war. And he got a bunch of the people on Saturday Night Live and a bunch of the Democrats to laugh at him, which is kind of funny because I don't think he takes himself even that serious. And I really do feel as though he trolls people on purpose. So maybe he used the word war on purpose after he was not supposed to use it. We'll see. But anyway, the fact that he did say that it's still a conflict, or whether you call it a conflict or a war or a miscommunication, it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is that the United States is deeply involved. The fact is that the U.S. paid a bunch of money over there. And the fact is that we are not going very much at all. We're not going, it's not like we're winning. It's not like we're losing. It's almost as if we're purposely keeping the stuff going. And I kind of see why. If the United States continues to allow that conflict to occur and all of the Middle East is unable to give Europe to the U.S. allies, it's going to force the U.S. allies to go to the U.S. oil and gas by necessity because they're still going to need oil and gas. They can't get it from their neighbors, which would be cheaper. So the U.S. is almost incentivized to continue to keep egg the conflict on and to keep it going. But indeed, a lot of people out here still worry about words, and words do matter. Don't get me wrong. My mother's an English teacher, and I believe in semantics, and I do believe that. And I do believe that words should reflect truth. And even if it doesn't really mean anything that much right now, spiritually, as a spiritual being, I feel as though we should try our best to abstain from all appearance of evil, as what's written in the Bible. So therefore, it's similar to this, my friend Mr. Heine, if you're still listening, or Kayla, if you made it to the audience, or any of my friends up here. It's almost like this. See, in America right now, if you go to Subway, you can see that there's a bunch of fountain drinks. And when you go in the Subway, there's a little small plastic cup that you can get if you just want water. And you go to the fountain drinks and push the button that says water, and there's no charge. However, if a person goes to the counter and says, I want a cup so I can get water, and then they say, I said water, but I secretly mean soda. Sometimes I just get my words messed up. If the clerk gives you a cup and you go over there and instead of getting water, like you said, you actually get soda without paying the soda. Because remember, if you're going to get soda, you got to pay a couple dollars, all right? Because the money's involved. Soda actually costs money. So when you take your little plastic cup up there, and instead of being honest, instead of getting water like you said you were going to do, if you change your mind and say, well, I said water, but I meant soda, when you start pouring that soda, you're actually stealing. And you might say, well, I said I needed the cup, and I can't help it that sometimes I say soda when I mean water, and I say water when I mean soda. It doesn't matter. The words that you said were untrue. So therefore, as we are out here, if we are actually going to have boots on the ground, if we're going to reinstate the draft, if we're going to pay millions of dollars a day for there to be a conflict going on, it shouldn't matter that much to me. But again, I'm a Christian, and I feel as though words should reflect the truth. So I think Donald Trump is wrong by not declaring or getting Congress to declare war so that we can reflect truth. But then again, I also see it on his point. If he tries to beg Congress to say that it's a war, they could backfire, and they could say, well, not only do we say it's not war, but we say it's non-constitutional to you even be involved. So if that's the case, then we'll end up losing out on all of our Jewish friends and allies. So that would be a bad thing. So I got something on my phone. All right. Anyway, yeah, my phone is super blurry. Why is that? Well, maybe it's the front. Can you see me now, y'all? This is weird. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to worry about myself. That was that point. Again, thank you all for coming up here. It's very meaningful. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Words can't express the way that you make me feel when I'm up here and trying to talk about the charts and the graphs and everything going up and going down, and trying to declare God's presence in our lives. Remember, Peter denied Christ 3 times before the cock crowed. 3 times. Oh, I can't even make this. Yeah, that's a chicken, not a cock. But still, all a chicken is a male cock, a female cock. All right, anyway, though, that's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So we have done all of the stuff in the show except for one thing. And the last thing we haven't talked about is how Coinbase has cut 14% of its staff. Ooh, that sucks for them. When you see these big crypto companies that are cutting down on their staff, it makes me think less people are trading. If less people are trading, and if the world is going away from greed more and towards the fear index, and if the U.S. and people in the United States see that we might not get the hyper liquid moment where we lower interest rates because we're unable to, then money's going to get pulled out of crypto. So again, you don't have to follow me, just follow the money. Look where the money's going. If money is going out of crypto, then you really should have already bought your NFTs and taken most of your money out. And you might say, where should I put my money, Lope? I'm not a financial advisor, but tell you what I did. I took all my money out of crypto. I sat in cash and I sat in gold like Rick Rule and like Peter Schiff and like Arthur Hayes and all my millionaire friends. Although Arthur Hayes, he's more into Bitcoin. I didn't even buy a bunch of Bitcoin with that money, because again, I feel as though Bitcoin is almost like a leverage play on the stock market. So I'm not going to buy Bitcoin now. However, if it does drop below the 90-day moving average, then I might. Or the 90 month moving. I'm gonna do the biggest moving average that I can, but my calculations, I think that Bitcoin should go down a lot anyway. So again, that's why I'm slowly, gradually taking money out of the market. And again, you don't have to do what I'm doing. Just watch people smarter than me and watch what those people are doing. That's the way I do it. Absolutely. If the world is going broke, you will see more and more crypto companies that are laying off workers. And again, this is a mainstream company. I mean, this is no small thing. Coinbase, they're the largest cryptocurrency company in America. They're the ones that allow most of these no coiners to even get involved in crypto, even though I don't like Coinbase. Brian Anderson, even though you're a crypto punk, I still love you for that. But you all caused me to lose $30,000 when you wouldn't let me take my money out of the market so I could leverage trade. And I had a leverage trade going on, and I needed to get liquid again. But anyway, I'm not going to fuss about that. Everybody gets liquidated once in their life, and once you get liquidated, you kind of learn your lesson. Yep. Same thing with impermanent loss when you're playing around with adding liquidity to your own coin. And I've been burnt that way myself too. But anyway, ooh, yeah, we all get burnt in life. Anyway, like I say, I'm going to make this show a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter. Again, I have Mr. Heine up here. Mr. Heine, if you want to talk, again, I'll give you the opportunity. I didn't hear my beautiful friend Kayla talk up here, and that kind of hurts my feelings. Kayla, if you are around, I miss you. I really wish that you were here. And then let's see, I see Thomas. And I see Martin PR. Anybody that wants to talk, you have at least 30 seconds to talk, and then I'm going to go ahead with an extra point. All right, all right. Good job, good job, good job. Here's my extra point. It's a bunch of these questions with no answer. These questions that I don't expect you to try to answer, but these questions that should be asked. Here's the first question. If AI is really taking people's jobs, where are people going to get work from? That's question number one. Question number two, if Meta, who makes Facebook, is purchasing chips from Amazon, where is Amazon getting the underlying lithium in order to make the chips from? And then the third question, if America has found a ton of lithium underneath the top of the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, who are they going to go? How are they going to get to go inside these dangerous toxic mines to get the lithium out so that they can use the lithium to make the chips so that Meta can buy the chips from Amazon? Who's going to do that? And the answer to all of those, and then also, I got another question. What if America is insulated from the oil conflict and from the Middle East? But what if America gets some beef or some food from these countries? Where are we going to get the beef from? Especially when you realize that one out of 72, there's only one out of 72 these people that make cattle, these cattle farmers, that's still in business. One out of 72. The rest of them have had to stop. So I'll tell you some of these answers, the way that I see the world. If AI is really taking people's jobs, people are going to get work from the government. The government is going to print a bunch of money, but it's also going to print a bunch of fake jobs, kind of like what's happening now. And these fake jobs are going to be jobs such as go outside and tell me the weather, a job such as go over there and do 10 jumping jacks and pray for the president. Real dumb jobs that don't really make money, but the government wants to pay money out. They need to get you to do something. So they might say, hey, why don't you go over there and look in your neighbor's windows and make sure that they are not wasting energy, or maybe a job where you get people to go into garbage pits and to pull out old computers and old cell phones so that we can still scrape the gold and the rare earth minerals that we need in order to make more things. So all the jobs in this world, I think they're going to get a lot nittier, a lot grittier, and a lot less paper jobs and a lot more actually doing work, which is kind of good in some ways, but bad in some. Purchasing on getting the underlying lithium. With the next point, they're going to get the lithium from under top the mountain of the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, where they had the hurricane the other year, and where all of a sudden they found millions of pounds of dangerous toxic lithium. And who's going to be doing the mines? I hate to say it, but it's probably going to be the next generation. Sadly, I know a long time ago it was a bunch of women, little girls in Chinese factories, sweatshops is what we used to call them. They were making all the clothes for America. Well, guess what? There's a chance that there might be some young American children that might have born from immigrants that are maybe brown or black like you and me, and that might be forced, these little kids that might be forced to go do these mines in America. I hope it doesn't get to this point, but the more I see the world, I think we're about to enter a really dark period in United States history. And then again, if America is insulated from the oil conflict in the Middle East, meaning that our oil isn't going up, but if America wants to bail out countries and if America wants to still be involved, we are going to have to uh, figure out what we're going to do to these countries when we bail them out. Are they going to give us their natural resources? Are they going to give us their young children so that their young children could be our slaves in these lithium mines? I don't know. If America is going to be insulated from the oil conflict in the Middle East, but the price of oil is still gradually trending up, and people need to get money, what's going to happen? So all these questions are deep thought questions that keep me up late at night. I really pray that you all are looking ahead. Now, I have done a lot of talking here. I don't want to come with my last point. I still have one more point, but it is almost 8:55. I did promise you that I was going to let you off a little bit early. So I'm going to go ahead and pray over everybody in the audience, and then I will change the thing to show with my own individual project, and then we'll be about done. So let's go ahead to God in prayer. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you for S. Kurt. Thank you for Brian Metlin. Thank you for Crick. Thank you for Diane. Thank you for Abdul NG. Thank you for Damask. Thank you for Stickin. Thank you for Angel. Thank you for Andreas. Thank you for Mason. Thank you for Crypto G. Thank you for Suche. Thank you for Zach Trick. Thank you for Vanessa. Thank you for Sniper. Thank you for Arlene Guy. Thank you for Daniel PR. Thank you for Thomas. Thank you for Mr. Heine. And thank you for Luke. Thank you for all these individuals that have decided to take time out of their busy day to come here and to support this wonderful space that was definitely underneath the Heineken community. Thank God for Heineken community. Also, oh Heavenly Father, thank you for this Board Pack Club, all these friends. God, thank you for Crypto Expert even showing up again. And again, God, we ask a special blessing from the Holy Spirit of love. Please, God, give everybody out there love in their heart for their fellow man, and love in their heart for you, God, so that they can reflect your kingdom here on earth. Thank you for these and all of the blessings. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. What a great, wonderful prayer. Yes, indeed, I tell you. Oh, it's happy time. That's why I play the happy music. happy. Oh, I'm sleepy. I know why I'm sleepy. I stayed up all night trying to develop a whole nother platform for my friends in Pakistan, and it didn't work out. I'm kind of mad about that. But anyway, I'll tell y'all more about what I'm doing with my whole Board Pack Club. Again, it's the club that I kind of control. I'm definitely the CEO of that club. I don't own a bunch of it, but I do own the website, and I do own the address that first minted them, and I own one or two of these. And these are 333 NFTs that are on Dogecoin, on the one meme coin that's also a proof of work, which is Dogecoin. And I'm very glad to still be involved with the Board Pack Club. They are definitely some of the highest quality art. So realize that if you ever purchase it, if you compare it to the look of a Doginal dog, it's definitely heads and tails higher quality than any of this other art. Even the Doginal cows, I'd rather have a Board Pack Club than the Doginal cows or the Doginal dogs, or even the spooky stuff, the mask, anything else. I definitely would like a Board Pack Club. So if you own one, or if you're holding one, or if you're borrowing one, you definitely privileged person. And I love that. First class citizen. And anyway, what do? We meet with people. Excuse me for yawning. We meet with people in real life. We meet in virtual reality, and we meet on these spaces. And when we meet with people, we give them 10% off their drinks, and we do real talent where we do real games involved. We tell stories, and we play music, and really have real ceremonies. So I'm glad to be part of them. And that brings me to the stories. I'm going to play one of the stories, these audio stories that I made up having to do with the Board Pack Club. This is the story that, I'll tell you what, I'll do the Donald Trump story. This is the story that I don't play very often because I know that I still need to work on it. So please forgive me, but I like to hear it every now and then so that I can hear what I got to work on. This is 9 minutes and 13 seconds. I hope you enjoy this story.
In the rolling lands of Equilibria, where tall peaks brush the sky and cozy valleys hid tiny villages, the giants and the midgets had lived side by side for ages. The giants towered like living mountains, kind-hearted but clumsy, always apologizing when their big feet accidentally flattened a garden. The midgets zipped around like cheerful lightning bugs, full of clever ideas and quick laughs, never missing a chance to tease their tall neighbors about needing ladders just to tie their own shoes. Among them grew two young wizards who shared everything as boys. Avatar was gentle and bright, always using his magic to mend broken fences and cheer up sad clouds. Nightwolf was clever and bold, but as the years passed, he grew restless. He began reading old scrolls that promised perfect fairness if only the strong would give everything to the weak, and if anyone complained, well, force would make it right. Slowly, the darkness crept in. Nightwolf started collecting guns that fired not just metal, but whispers of sin, little sparks of greed, anger, and selfishness that made people forget how to share with open hearts. One stormy evening, Nightwolf stood on a high cliff and declared his grand plan. "The world is unfair," he shouted, his voice echoing like thunder wrapped in velvet. "Giants hoard the high branches and the best views. Midgets keep the low secrets and the quick escapes. I will fix it all with true equality. Everyone will share everything: height, food, gold, even their favorite jokes. And if you resist, my enchanted guns will remind you with a taste of sin until you agree." He raised a gleaming black pistol that sparkled with dark magic. The crowd of curious giants and midgets cheered at first, thinking it sounded like a grand adventure. Nightwolf's takeover began with grand promises and clever tricks. He marched his followers through every kingdom, handing out shiny red badges that said "Equal Now." Giants were told their long legs were unfair and were given heavy boots that slowed them down so the midgets could keep up. Midgets were given tall stilts and told they now had to reach the high shelves themselves. Everyone laughed at first, until the guns came out. A single shot from Nightwolf's sin pistols could make a generous giant suddenly jealous of his neighbor's bigger lunch, or turn a friendly midget into someone who hid their best cookies instead of sharing them. Sin spread like warm honey, sweet at first, but sticky and hard to wash off. Avatar watched with growing sadness. He remembered the boy who once shared his last apple with him under an old oak tree. "Nightwolf, this isn't sharing," Avatar pleaded during their first big meeting in the Great Meadow. "This is forcing. Real kindness can't come from the barrel of a gun." Nightwolf only smiled sadly and replied, "Old friend, you're too soft. The world needs strong hands to make it fair." Then he fired a warning shot that grazed Avatar's shoulder, not enough to kill, but enough to leave a glowing scar that burned with regret every time he tried to cast a healing spell. Avatar stumbled back, clutching the wound, his eyes wide with shock and sorrow. The confusion that followed was pure chaos. A fog rolled in during the next battle, the kind of magical mist Nightwolf loved to conjure so his enemies would trip over their own feet. In the swirling gray, shapes blurred. Avatar thought he saw Nightwolf's cloak and charged forward to talk sense into him one last time. Instead, he tackled a decoy dressed in the exact same robes, a loyal giant who had volunteered to stand in. At the same moment, Nightwolf spotted a silver-robed figure rushing toward his command tent, and in the panic of mistaken identity, fired another sin-laced bullet. The shot hit Avatar again, this time in the leg, deepening the partial wound and making him limp with every step. Both wizards froze when the fog lifted, and they saw each other clearly. "You," they whispered at the same time, voices cracking with the pain of old friendship turning sour. Nightwolf pressed on, his empire growing taller and heavier every day. Socialist decrees poured out faster than rain in spring. All cookies were to be divided equally, even if some giants preferred savory snacks and some midgets loved sweets. All jokes had to be approved by a central committee, so no one felt left out. Guns stood guard at every crossroads, ready to remind anyone who complained with a quick burst of envy or laziness. The land grew strange and funny in its brokenness. Giants tried to tiptoe through midget villages and ended up knocking over entire bakeries with one misplaced elbow. Midgets rode on giant shoulders to reach the high fruit, but kept dropping their stilts and causing traffic after apologies. Sin made people bicker over the silliest things. Who got the last piece of pie? Softest pillow. Yet deep down, many hearts felt empty, like a party where everyone smiled, but no one was truly happy. As Nightwolf's power reached its peak, he decided he needed something bigger to seal his victory forever. Legends spoke of the great dragon sleeping far beneath the earth, an ancient beast whose roar could reshape mountains and whose breath could enforce any new law. "Awaken," Nightwolf commanded one moonless night, standing over a deep crack in the ground he had opened with dark spells and gunfire. He poured every ounce of his magic into the ritual. Blood from a stubborn tomato. He was trying to be dramatic, but ran out of dramatic animals. Chants about equality, and a final volley of sin bullets fired straight into the dirt. The ground trembled. Rocks split. A mighty roar rose up, dramatic and deep enough to rattle teeth. Everyone held their breath. Then, slowly, something emerged. Nails and fire and terror. But a round, cheerful figure wearing a slightly crooked rubber dragon mask that kept sliding over one eye. He was short and pleasantly plump, dressed in baggy orange pants and a bright Shiba Inu t-shirt that proudly displayed a grinning dog with the words, "Such Reset, Very Heel," stretched across his belly. Fuzzy slippers poked out from under the costume. In one hand, he held half a sandwich wrapped in a napkin. He looked around at the stunned army, the worried giants, the wide-eyed midgets, and the limping avatar, and gave a friendly little wave. "Wow," the dragon-masked monk said, his voice warm and surprisingly calm for someone who had just been woken from a very long nap. "You guys really went all out with the fireworks and the guns and the yelling about fairness. Name's Brother Chillax. Used to do the whole dragon thing back in the day. Lots of roaring, lots of flying. Terrible for the knees. Retired ages ago. Now I mostly nap, snack, and read. Since you called me up here with all this noise, I guess it's time to do the reset." Night Wolf stepped forward, cloak swirling dramatically. "Great Dragon, join me. Help me enforce true equality across the land." Brother tilted his head, mask slipping again, and chuckled. "Equality sounds nice, but forcing it with guns and sin? That's like trying to hug someone while wearing boxing gloves. Watch this instead." He reached into his cargo pocket and pulled out a well-worn Bible. The battlefield grew strangely quiet. Even the wind seemed to pause for story time. In a voice that was both grand and gently funny, like a favorite uncle telling the best tale at dinner, Brother Chillax began to read. 13. When I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or command locusts to devour the land, or send a plague among my people. 14. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. 15. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers offered in this place. He closed the book with a soft thump and looked around with kind eyes peeking through the dragon mask. "See? It's not about who's taller or who has more cookies. It's about humbling ourselves, asking nicely, turning away from the sneaky sins that make us grabby and grumpy, and letting real healing happen. Guns can't do that. Forced sharing can't do that. Only this can." A warm light began to spread from the spot where Brother Chillax stood. It wasn't flashy or loud. It was gentle, like sunrise after a long, stormy night. The glowing scar on Avatar's shoulder and leg softened, the pain easing into a quiet reminder instead of a burning wound. Giants suddenly felt lighter on their feet and started carefully helping midgets down from high places instead of complaining about stilts. Midgets handed back the extra cookies they had hidden and began telling jokes that made everyone laugh together instead of at each other. The sin guns shimmered.
What a great little story. The end. What a great story. Thank y'all so much. That is one of my favorite stories. Clap. Come on, clap, clap, clap. I don't hear nothing. There we go. It's crazy. It has a delay. Anyway, I thank y'all for coming out here. What a great day. I think that space is trying to rug. So before it does, again, I thank you all for coming out here. May God bless you and keep you. I'll be streaming in about 3 hours tonight, 3 hours from whatever time it is now. If it doesn't rug, I'll try to play my exit song. Thanks again, y'all. The signal lights up at the break of the morning. My handle is open, I'm sending a warning. Across the digital highway, where the ideas are born. A new kind of broadcast for the weary and torn. I flip the switch on the bird with the wings of steel to tell
the center of the night. Step into the space where the future is loud. I am pulling the lightning straight out of the cloud. From the strokes of a brush to the blocks in the chain. I'm the voice running deep through your brain. It is on, let it go, let it is happening now. Take a seat at the table, and I will show you how. Loop is the name, and the frequency is high. Join me where the old world comes to die. No still information, all I recycle thought. All I just cutting edge truth that can't be bought. I'm watching the trends, shatter the glass. Adjust around the scholar while the minutes are past. Cryptic currencies tumble and rise like the tide. God, the visionaries find a new place to hide. I got you moving before it becomes a routine. The finest performance that you have ever seen. My laughter is sharp and the wit is a blade. Cutting through silence where the fortunes are made. Nature is breathing and the canvas is bright. We are the pulse in the center of the night. Step into the space where the future is out. I am pulling the lightning straight out of the cloud. From the strokes of a brush to the notch in the chain. I'm a voice running deep through your brain. It is on and it is gold and it is happening now. Take a seat at the table and I will show you how. Is the name and the frequency is high. Join me when the old world comes to die. Step into the space where the future is loud. I am pulling the lightning straight out of the cloud. The strokes of the brush, the lights in the chain. I'm a voice running deep through your brain. It is all shifted, it is gold and it is happening now. Take a seat at the table and I will show you how. Love is the name, the frequency is high. Join me where the old world comes to die.
Thank y'all so much. Bye bye. Bye bye. Have a great day, everybody. Bye bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.